The fear of being seen will keep you stuck. Let's talk about it. What's up, y'all? My name is Elia. I'm a mindset coach. I talk candidly about my journey, as well as share some tips to encourage growth and healing and uplift anyone who may struggle with feeling seen. So, the fear of being seen. First and foremost, I feel like this is a very common thing. I wish we talked about it more often, but hey, here we are talking about it, so we're doing our part. In a nutshell, or put simply, the fear of being seen is a fear of being noticed, observed, or judged by others. And that judgment component is really important here because behind the fear of being seen, there tends to be some challenges with it, the sense of self-worth or self-esteem that might have someone not necessarily feeling worthy within their own right as they are authentically and fully worthy of positivity as a result of expressing that. And that's a problem, right? Because we are who we are, and sure, we grow and mold, but ultimately we are all distinct people, and we should all have space to express ourselves as long as we're not harming other people. And the fear of being seen in many ways is a form of social anxiety, and it keeps people playing small because, again, with the fear, there's a lack of putting yourself out there because of that possible rejection or that possible judgment. So folks are walking around all day wanting to be seen for who they are at their core, who they truly are when all is said and done, but afraid of how that person may then be received out in the world, afraid of the judgment, afraid of rejection, and just all of the possible emotional, mental implications of that. Now, folks would just rather not express that person. And that can really affect you in all areas of your life. It affects relationships wherein it may be hard to build quality, deep, meaningful relationships. It can affect your career where it may be hard to advance because you're just not putting yourself out there and taking risks or charging ahead and taking initiative or however you want to put it. And you also might wind up overgiving or overperforming as a way to attempt to overcompensate for some of the underlying self-worth challenges there. So it can really show up in many ways. And the thing with being seen, which is a part of this fear, is that being seen forces you to also look at yourself. So not only is there this fear of judgment from others, but then also once I start looking at myself, in some ways I'm also judging myself, and I have to figure out how to be kinder and be more compassionate and more gracious toward what I see and still love me. So it's a very complex and challenging thing to navigate and deal with, and it has to still be dealt with. So as always, I want to share a bit about what this has looked like for me because I'm not just speaking into a vacuum. These are things that I too am human. I have to navigate. So for me, at an early age, I started to notice that people had a draw to me. They may want to be around me, may want to put me in a position or on a platform, or may say, "Hey, Ellie, you're really good at this. You should try this," et cetera, et cetera. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I was uncomfortable with it because I wanted to, and this is something I actually used to tell myself, I wanted to be felt and not seen. I didn't want to be the center of attention. I still really don't care to be the center of attention. I'm just more comfortable with attention these days. But I didn't want to be the center of attention. I didn't want people looking at me. I didn't want any of that. And for me, the root fear was disappointing people who saw something in me or looked up to me. And it's not even necessarily that I didn't also see elements of the things they saw in me within myself. I just didn't know how to necessarily handle or navigate disappointing feedback or disappointing them if I'm like, man, I proved you wrong. Like you saw all this greatness in me, and here I am not living up to it. So I told myself all these stories, and I developed this need to be perfect in order to feel deserving or worthy. And here's the thing, perfection is impossible. And it really kept me in this loop, in these cycles and these patterns of moving forward but then also moving backward. And I was feeling very busy over and over and over, but just not feeling productive for several years of my life. and struggling with feeling like I was getting ahead because I was afraid to actually move ahead because that then would come with more spotlight. So that's something that, again, has taken a lot of work, and I do the work every day. It's not like I got to this place where all of a sudden everything just vanished and I never think about it again. There are plenty of moments that still bring up the fear for me, and I have to then sit and be like, okay, we're gonna work through this and we're gonna move forward into the light. So, with that said, I, one, encourage you to continue to move into your light and step fully into yourself. But I want to share some tips that have helped me and I hope will help you on your journey. First, I think it's important to seek excellence and not perfection. Perfection leaves you nowhere to go, right? For something to be perfect, it's optimized, it's maximized, it's streamlined. There is nothing better than perfection because you've reached the pinnacle. And sure, that sounds great, but that leaves you nothing to gain and everything to lose. And that's just not realistic. That's not how humans work. So by seeking excellence, I feel like it's a constant journey of seeking a better, more fulfilling, more self-actualized version of yourself, and then always having something to work toward versus just having this one solid stake in the ground and then being like, I'll never get there, and not knowing what to do if you even get there. Secondly, I also think it's important to examine the underlying fears behind the fear of being seen and what they stem from. So this is going to require you to dig into your past, examine some past feedback, maybe projections, negative experiences, even things you tell yourself, as all of that is kind of in the same pool at some point. It's really important to dig into all of that and start to ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? What's the worst case scenario here if I fully show myself? Because that'll tell you a lot about things that may still be lingering that you haven't processed and dealt with and released. And then additionally, once kind of all of that is happening, it's really important, in my opinion, to assess your relationship with shame. And shame is a very identity based challenge, right? And what I mean by that is shame tells you I am bad for existing as I am. And not accessing, assessing that relationship can really help you get a sense of just how you look at yourself, how you treat yourself, and maybe how others are looking at you in the relationships and environments you're in, and how all of that is impacting how you feel about yourself. And ideally, it will allow you to start kind of picking all of that apart and figuring out where you start and stop and where the world starts and stops, so you can get a clear sense of who you are first and foremost and start to love that person. So I hope those tips do help you on your journey. I hope something I've said in this video helps you on your journey. And as always, I want to leave you with a reflective question. And today's question is, who are you at your core? And what can you do to fully embrace and express that person today? Think about it.